What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another live stream. Today is episode 88. That is correct. 88 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream. And as always, I thank you for taking the time and spending it here with me, your time being your most valued possession. Thank you for hanging out with me. We're doing it all over again. And today we're going to be talking about live streaming tips. As you can see, this is episode 88. This is something that I love to do, but on top of that, it's something that I have learned to do and something that I do consistently. And I'm going to share some of my favorite tips on what I do to get prepared for my weekly live stream. And I hope that it will help you or inspire you to get out there and just start creating and doing the same. So with that being said, welcome. If it is your first time here, my name is Lewis, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it is your first time, please make sure to say what's up and introduce yourself into the chat so that you can get the good Camera Junkie welcome. And with that being said, let me see who's here right off the bat. All right, we have Randall hanging out, saying hello to everyone. Welcome to the Camera Junkie live stream tonight. Welcome, welcome. And as well, Master Moderator Paul Duncan here. We have him here saying what's up to the fam. And if everything is correct, I'm looking at my audio sources, and from everything that I had tested before earlier, that I did test before I went live, everything should sound great. But just to get into the meat of things, to get things right in there, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. It goes a long way and it's highly, highly appreciated. Okay, well, one of the tips, right? One of the tips to just get right into it, the first tip that I will have for you is to test right? To test before you go live. And that's exactly what I had done. I am very big advocate about audio, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but I've been working on my audio source and making sure that the music and that the volume of my voice is coming in through and that everything's correct. And now through this new plugin that I got today and the power of the Rodecaster Pro, I was very happy with the results that I was able to receive. So I'll get into that maybe a little bit later, but yes, testing before you go live is a very big thing, whether it's that you're going to do an interview, because let's say you have the ability to bring people onto your stream. So if you were going to do that, you need to make sure that you have a test call with the said individual that you're going to have, or that you're going to be part of their stream ahead of time, just so that you can correct your audio for that situation. Because the audio that I've been working on is particular to my setup, my room, my dynamics, and that always changes with each person and their situation. So for that, you would always have to test whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're going to be doing it like interviewee or interviewer. Tests are very, very important. It allows you to make sure that you get everything done. So even though I did a recording to my computer to test the audio, I also did a quick little test to an unlisted live stream on YouTube just to confirm that the audio was doing good, and it surprised me. It's like I'm just absolute in shock with this last, like, this is the cherry on top, and this is going forward something that I'm going to be recommending tenfold. But I'll get into that a little bit. But that is the first thing, right? The first thing about live streaming is to test before you go live. It's something that I like to do, right? And I'm just gonna be upfront with it. I love live streaming. I love all the, the gear, the tech, and I love like the technology and almost like the hurdles. You understand the challenge of it. So I'm always trying to upgrade my skills, which is one of my monikers here. And that's one of the things that it's always, it's something that I'm always striving for. And that's why we test ahead of time, so that we can, there's no such thing as perfect, but we try to strive for that as best we can. And through test makes better. Never perfect, but always makes better. Now, something that I do for my live streams that I would also recommend is to prepare, right? Is to actually prepare your setup or your ideas of what it is that you want to convey as far as your message goes. Because like right now, I'm just peeking over to my, I have this checklist of just bullet points. It's not exactly word for word a script, but it does allow me to check things off, and as I click them, they just start sinking down and going into their correct order. So for that reason, it allows me to keep my, like, the framework of the live stream and the message that I want to give as part of the subject matter at hand. So today we're talking about the live streams, right? So one of the things that I do to prepare for the live streams is make a quick, simple little bullet point list that I'm able to keep my ideas in line, and that if I were to go astray on a subject matter, which tends to happen, like a question that somebody might have might lead me to another path, this will give me the ability to bring it back so that I can, finish strong, so to speak, with the ideas that I had beforehand. Excuse me. I'm just so surprised because right now Aiden is having a blast, and I'm like, rest assured that it's not coming through. It's just, I digress. I will continue. So preparation is very important, and the subject matter that you decide to choose, that all has to do with what I would say should be your passion. Because the way that I see it, especially for live streaming, you should be able to talk about the subject matter at hand, like freehand, almost like freestyle, because this is something that is like an innate part of you, so it's easy for you to pick up a subject around that at any go. That's why it's always best for me, as my advice, to be your passion, to be your subject matter, because there's a lot of people who look at the YouTube system as like a complete job, as an employment. And because I didn't go at it in that manner, I feel that I've reaped better benefits than just, me expecting to try to get a paycheck from Google. But I digress. That has to do with me preparing, but also preparing for the subject matter that's I'm very passionate about. So I think it should go hand in hand. Now, I also put a run of show, or make a run of show, right? A run of show is pretty much what you see throughout my live streams. If we go back, sometimes I've been very tired that I haven't had the ability to make my list, and when I don't make my list is when sometimes I run astray and forget segments that I've built into my live stream, like cities go. A good thing is that I have a great set of moderators here that remind me through Discord, and that sometimes has helped me bring it back. But the bullet points on a simple notepad, like I mentioned before, is something that I also recommend, because it will just allow you to keep you on track, allow you to just stay in the same frame of thought. So now, one thing that I also do is try to have a correct mindset, right? And the mindset for me is fairly easy, because like I've mentioned to you guys before, I love doing this. This is like the highlight of my week, to be here on Saturdays and to be able to do this live stream. It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, I stay amazed week in and week out. And for that reason, I find it easy for me to get up. But for sometimes I'm like really, really tired. That is just a physical thing. Like last night, I was trying to do some edits, and no matter how hard I tried, like my eyes were just going cross-eyed. I just needed to just shut it down and let the body rest. And I was able to wake up in the morning and get a better handle on those edits that I was doing, comparative to me trying to force something when I was completely exhausted. But at the same time, when I have had the energy to do the live stream, but to get my mind right, I always try to be like in the most festive and jovial mood. And one thing that I do that I've mentioned before is that I listen to comedy radio. So I listen to like my radio app, and I listen to a channel that's like 24-hour comedy. And what I do is that I put it on an hour ahead of my live stream. So around 10 o'clock for my 11 o'clock live stream is when I would actually start putting on the comedy to actually like lift my spirits. And what I do there, right, is that I listen to a joke until I start like really laughing, right? That's the key, because I won't listen to the jokes all the way through, because they constantly put on different comedians. Some of them are funny, some of them are not, right? But you have to work through them. So as soon as I hear a joke that really like tickles my funny bone, that's where I actually shut it down, so that I can stay like at that high frequency and let that frequency like resonate through me, so that I can just be at the best energy for the live streams. And I've noticed a huge difference when I've been able to apply that comparative to when I haven't, because it just like I said, it just resonates. So it just comes from within, and it's almost like the smile is 100 times more genuine, because you're just in a festive mood. So use different things. If it's like workout music that you like, something that gets you hyped up, but something that gets you in that right frequency and that right mindset, that is something that I think really helps, just to make sure that you remember to have fun, right? Because I do this for fun and try to show everyone that that's what it is, and that really there's nothing to fear. Because a lot of people worry about like what would I say and things like that, and at the end of the day, like, you don't script your life when you go day to day speaking with people. And that's the same way that you have to understand that a live stream is. You can prepare, you will set up your ideas and your thoughts, but things will constantly happen, and things will constantly, like, ish will hit the fan consistently, and like they say, live happens. So that's something that you'll just have to understand and be aware of, and know that that's part of it. And that's something that also shows people that you are real. And that's, it's just a level of authenticity to know, hey, you know what, you're going through it, and I will show you my pains just to bring you along with me. So all right, another tip, right, that I do for my live streams is something that I did earlier today, which is deliver your message, right? Like the point that you're trying to get across on your live stream, to try to do that as soon as possible. And that has to do with the people who are maybe new to your live stream, and not to not address the live audience that you have there, but the subject at hand and the matter that you have. I would tend to try to get to it as soon as possible, and then use like all of the other tips that I had mentioned before about like staying on script. Carlos Tacos is in the house. What's up, man? And to try to stay on script and try to stay, in your groove, to actually provide as much value as soon as possible, to make sure that you have, that you provide it for the people who aren't used to it. Because as soon as I'm done with my list and I get through this, then I'll be able to just answer the questions that I see some people have in the chat, and be able to, get into more of like the fine detail with the Camera Junkie crew. But that's something that I try to do, to try to establish the run of show and the structure of my live streams, so that I can try to repurpose the live streams once they're done. But I'm also going to be honest, I've been really bad with repurposing the live streams on the second hand, but at least I'm working on the structure to have them there, so that when I get around to them, I have the right tools to work with. So that's something that I do advise as well. And then the next thing is to actually engage with your live audience, right? Which is what I had just kind of foreshadowed before, which is that understand that you do have a live audience, and that not to neglect them. Because if you were just gonna read from a script or just do something and totally not mention people when they come in, like I had just recently just said, hey, what's up to Carlos Tacos, that was a perfect example. And that was something that's natural, that is just acknowledge your live audience, because that's why they're there, right? It's to build that community and to build it live, so that they can see the most authentic version of you, what you would look like when the ish hits the fan, right? How do you react? How do you respond to it? Those are the things, those like micro expressions in your face. Those are the things that you can't hide, so to speak, in a live stream, which is why it's so raw and it's a lot more intimate. But take advantage of that. If you're gonna go live, do not neglect the people who are there, because if you were to just neglect them and not acknowledge them at all, why did you go live in the first place, right? It defeats the purpose of the live stream, because for that you could have just recorded it and put it out as a pre-recorded content if you weren't going to acknowledge the people who are there. So make sure that you acknowledge your people, because if not, then why did you go live? And this next point that I had put here was to understand that things happen, that live happens, right? And that when the stuff goes awry, just roll with the punches. Understand that, you know what? I've been working on my audio for a while, and a couple of weeks ago it was like really low and bad. Instead of getting hung up on it, I just said, you know what? I'll work on it next week and I'll see how I can make it better. And that's all part of the learning experience. You need to fail in certain aspects so that you can learn where you need to get better. If you have a weakness, then that's what you need to work on to upgrade your skills, and just making it 1% better, or just seeking out that one little, key ingredient could make all the difference in the entire experience of this. So that's where I would also recommend to just understand that, things are going to go awry, nothing's going to go perfect. And the days that it feels that it does, hey, that means that you've progressed a whole lot then from where you started. Because I go back to my first live stream right now and I was like, night and day difference. All right. Okay, and the next point that I have here says, don't take things so seriously, right? Just don't take yourself so seriously, because things are going to happen. And just make sure to try to keep that jovial and that fun aspect. And remember that you chose to do this, right? If that is what you're doing, if you did choose to say, like, you know what, I'm going to start creating content and I'm going to start doing this, then remember that this is your choice and that there's a whole lot of things that you can choose to do in spite of this that might not be as fun. And I'll give you my experience. I've done it myself, for the simple reason I worked at restaurants, right? And at that moment, I am selling their product in hopes for a tip. And that was the business structure, but I had to go and march by their toot of their horn, so to speak. And I had to go by all of the criteria that they wanted. And when they said they wanted me to push a certain item, I didn't have a choice to do so. But throughout this medium, like, you have the ability to create, like, advertise. You can make a business, you can make this a business itself. There's so many opportunities, so many advantages of you doing this and taking the time to build something for yourself here, comparative to just working on anything else. And I know that I'm very fortunate and very grateful, but it still amazes me the connections and the people that I've been able to get in contact with, and the opportunities that are presenting themselves, because I started to do the work ahead of time and made myself ready and available for when the opportunity was there. When the opportunity was there, I was ready to strike the iron while it was hot. And that's what is another piece of advice that I would recommend to someone who's thinking about starting to do this, right? And the last thing that I would say is learn from your mistakes, right? Because you are going to create them. And like I said, when I had bad audio a couple of weeks ago, I learned from my mistakes, and taking it 1% better. Right now, I feel like my audio's to the point where I really don't have to worry about anything. Right now, my worst case scenario in audio, what people would really hope to get one day. And at that point, I just say, hey, I'm at a place where I'm very, very satisfied. And that was just throughout all of the work, all of the weeks of just making it that just 1% better and tweaking it here and there. Very happy. All right. Yep. Learn from your mistakes. And if you learn from your mistakes, that's actually the only way that you could learn, right? Let me just leave it with that. You could only learn from your mistakes, because if you got everything right the first time, then what did you learn? You learned that, like, nothing, right? In all sincerity, you can try to be hypothetical, but there's no such thing as perfect. So the only way to get to the best of your capabilities, or try to excel in that field, is to get out there and do the work. I always mention this, and I'm not a gym rat, but you don't get fit by reading gym books. You have to go, like, you can know how to do every exercise in the book, but you do not get the results unless you put in the work. So always make sure to put in the work. All right, let's check Let's check the questions here to see what we have. I'm gonna go ahead and put a Q. All right. It says, I want to start incorporating live streaming into my channel more, but all over my man cave. Can I install Ecamm Live on my Mac Studio, Mac Mini, MacBook Pro? I just bought the Pro license. Absolutely. It's the account. And this is the really cool part. Through NDI, you'll be able to, if you want, you'll be able to actually put them in different locations in your studio, and you can connect a camera to it, and then you'll be able to access it through the one that you're streaming mainly. So they become sort of like an access point, and you'll be able to use that access point like as an NDI video camera. Like I wouldn't use it, you know, for like a main camera, but kind of like my overhead shot that I have over here, you'll be able to put a different camera in like across the room connected to that computer and be able to see it through Ecamm Live and just have them all running at the same time, and you will be having it open. The only thing that you have to be aware is something that we've already experienced with Doc Rock, which is when you have them open, make sure that the interview mode button is only checked on the main computer where you want to actually have the guest and have control, because if they're on all of them and somebody calls into your line, you don't have control onto which computer actually picks it up. So just have that in mind. But yeah, Ecamm will allow you to have it. That's actually like how I done it. So it's for my pre-recorded content. What I do is I want to have a secondary camera feed, right? So the way that Ecamm works is that it's recording everything at once, which is great, and it allows you to switch and do all of this. But if I were to be saying a line, right, that I really nailed, you know, something or a point that I really wanted to get across in pre-recorded content, I would want two separate feeds to be recording at the same time, so that like I can switch to either or and it's the same exact like emphasis in my words. I won't have to repeat that sentence. Right now, if I were to be using all of the cameras on one setup, I would literally say the first, you know, like say the line to the camera, and then I would then switch over to my secondary camera and then say the line again. It won't be the same exact wording, you know, it won't be the same exact you know, in fluctuations in my voice. That all will change, and that's what you kind of don't want. You want to be able to have the ability to choose which side of the camera that you're seeing, but still use that like exact point. It's almost like if you were recording something like a live event, you want as many angles of that same exact, you know, like 3-point shot or half court shot at the buzzer. So that's to do that. What I do is I connect my right camera to my Mac Mini and open up Ecamm and start recording there, and then I use my 16mm here, my front facing camera, and record that to the Mac Studio, press record on both, and simultaneously I have both files being recorded to the local hard drives. Once I'm done, I'll be able to synchronize them in post because they're the same exact file but just being recorded to two separate locations. Once I'm not recording in that manner, that's when I actually just connect it back normally and put my right camera here that you're seeing onto the Mac Studio so that I could attach it to the live stream and have it doing the, you know, rotation of cameras, so on and so forth. To be able to do all of this, it's all being controlled and powered through one of my favorite program, to tell you the truth. You know, the power of Ecamm. It's what allows me to do my live streams. It allows me to do my pre-recorded content. I use it for everything, for my remote production services, for interviews, for Zoom meetings, for absolutely everything. I use Ecamm. So seeming that was the only question, let's go back to the chat real quick. All right. Says, we're glad that you love doing it. Congrats on number 88. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. It's great if I literally taking notes, setting up the camera to film. That's awesome, bro. Thank you, man. And trust me, I've one of the biggest things is I've mentioned this to India Delgado, right, which was like, not only not to take yourself so seriously, right, but understand that things are always gonna like go wrong. And understand that even though like I've done 88 live streams as of right now, and that's just on my weekly, not including all of the other ones that I've done for other channels, so on and so forth, and just in the in-betweens. But the simple fact that I always analogize it to baseball, because it's like, you can be a really good baseball player and you know that you're never batting 1,000. You never hit every single one out of the park. There's a lot of different ways that you are effective, even though they might not show in the stats. You know, there's certain days that you don't get a, you know, you only get a single, and there's certain days that you have to do a sacrifice bunt, right? But those are the things that are required of your live streaming, meaning that you've brought the content, you've done the planning, but for whatever reason, it just didn't flow as well as you would have expected. And then when that happens, is to not take yourself so seriously and not get down on yourself, but actually use it as a learning experience and say, you know what, that kind of didn't flow too well. That was like a sacrifice, you know, bunt. So you know what, next week I'll be able to work on it, and let's see what I can do. And know that you are gonna get another at bat. Know that just as long as you keep going at it, that nobody's stopping you, you will get that next at bat. And then one of them, you're gonna feel like, man, I hit that grand slam. So know that there's going to be days that there's going to be sacrifice bunts. Know that there's going to be days that are going to be, you know, singles. And then know that there's going to be days when you get the grand slam. But know that there are days all in between there with all the different types, just as long as you keep coming to bat. Just as long as you keep going to bat. So remember that. He said, Paul says, if you read from a script, it sounds like you're reading from a script. Absolutely. And I think the hardest thing, even for me, is just, but this is just me, right? I'm nitpicky for these things. Like, I notice when somebody's not looking directly at the camera. And it's not that I do it all the time, because my eyes wander as I'm like reading a note, trying to get something, seeing a notification, different things, or just like my eyes wandering to try to like access a memory or a thought. But I notice when somebody's not talking to the lens, right, or to their audience, and that's stuff that I nitpick. I know when they're like looking ahead or above because they're literally talking to their own face, or off to the side because of the flippy screens. These are things that I do notice. And one of the things that I also notice is like when somebody's like reading from left to right. I'm saying, like, you know, I do it for the live stream so I can read this, like saying, question, I want to start incorporating live streaming in my, but you know, like it can get really choppy, and you start seeing the eyes just like do like the typewriter move. So Scott's in the house saying hi to the crew. How are you doing, man? And everybody's saying what's up to each other. Yeah, so as you can see, Randy's saying that I have the license and I have it on my Mac Mini and my Mac Studio. Yeah, because the license is just your account with Ecamm. So I have it on every, like I have Ecamm Live on every Apple computer that I have. That meaning my Mac Mini, Studio, my MacBook Pro, and that iMac in the back. That's all, they all have Ecamm. He's saying, oh, sweet. It says, are these multiple angles tonight going through capture cards or another switcher? No, they're all going through capture cards. So to explain the way that I have my setup, I did not go with the A10 Mini. One of the reasons is that I wanted to get actual 4K, or if I wanted to go like in the 1080, I wanted to go 1080-60, not just 1080-30. And that's what the A10 Minis are capped off. The other thing is that, like, through the switching that you're seeing here, there's a couple of scenes that actually have two cameras at the same time. That's something that you wouldn't be able to do with the A10 mini, because no matter how many feeds they have in, Ecamm and your computer only sees it as one camera. So even though you can switch through them, you won't have the ability to actually get more than one camera feed coming into your computer at the same time. So right now I have each individual camera, including my overhead camera, coming in through individual capture cards. The main two A6100s, I have them on the 4K, the Camlink 4K, so that they have the full 4K HD readout. I also have the 4K on the Sony A7R, which is my overhead, to get the highest quality for my overhead shots as well. This shot that you're seeing here, this is actually an iPhone. This is the only one that bypasses having the need for a video capture card, because it's just connected directly via the lightning cable to the computer, and you're able to get the entire feed through it. And it's really cool because it's also just one cable that powers up the iPhone, so it never dies. It's just hanging out there, and that's why I have it on this like pretty lanky little arm that just hovers above it. But because it's not all going into one device and then going fed to the computer as only one input, they're all individual inputs. You're able to manipulate them as much as you want or as little as you want. So if I wanted to, I can put all of the cameras in one feed at the same time. And that's also including the fact that I have my Aiden cam. So if I wanted to check out what my son was doing, you understand, I have that camera that's also part of it, and that's all part of this setup. So I have it, you know, my overhead camera, I have my front facing camera, my side view, the whole thing, and they're all individual, but because they are separate, I am able to place them together into one scene, which is something that you can't do with the A10 mini. Kevin is in the house as well. What's up, bro? Thanks for stopping by, being able to make it. I appreciate that, man. The great thing about using the Macs, or what you will have to do with a reboot on a live stream. Well, yeah, let's not even get into that. I've never had to reboot on them. Oh, and you know what? That's something that, a bonus tip for tonight's live stream. Before I go live, after I do my tests, I shut down my computer and shut it down. I just shut everything down, and that's when I turn on all of the cameras, right? And after I shut it down, I like turn on all the cameras and then reboot to make sure that everything tests correctly, and just have nothing else on in the background, and then I go live. That's something that has helped me a lot when it comes to everything running smoothly, especially that all the cameras connect without having an issue, without them freezing. If for whatever reason I don't get that reboot in, because it doesn't always happen, it tends to just cause a little bit more of a headache when it comes to it, especially like my overhead camera over here. This one tends to freeze when I don't get that reboot in, just because I guess it's connected in that manner, just via lightning cable. All right. And Kevin is reminding us, did everyone hit that like button? Just that to just make sure you hit it. Make sure that it's solid. It's highly appreciated, guys. Hey, Albert, how are you doing, sir? I need to get in contact with you. Things have been crazy. Things are still crazy, but I need to shoot you an email. What I needed to ask you was wondering if you had a scheduling app, something like I use Calendly, you know, to set up your appointments for like the interview. That's something that I've been meaning to try to send out to you to see if you had something like that, so that I can schedule it, so that it can be automatic in my calendar, so that I don't forget, because I do want to schedule that. And Paul is saying hello to Albert as well. All right. Well, with that, you see, now I'm going back to my list, right? And what I'm going to do with my list is I'm going to go here and then mention to you City's Call, because it's a reminder. Now I'm just going to click that off. And tonight's channel that I think you should go and watch is none other than, oh, I forgot to open it up, but you know what? Let's do it now. I'm going to go to my own Discord. And tonight is DP Review. All right, let's see here. Open that up there. City's gone. Let's go here. Boom, perfect. All right, and this is it, guys. DP Review. If you haven't heard of them, I would definitely tell you to check them out. And I say them because I'm talking about these two individuals here, Jordan Jordan and Chris. These two guys, they are hilarious, but they are really good when it comes to the information that they provide for both video and photography. Chris mostly does like the photography side, and you get the aspects from them both. So it's a lot of fun. As you can see there, they don't take themselves very seriously, which is a very big motif of the people that I put onto my City's God, the channels that I think you should go and watch. Is one of the tips that I gave earlier today, which is, you know, to just make light of yourself. Like, I do it on like a daily basis, so people that like speak with me daily know that I'm like that, but I have not myself been able to convey that on any of like the pre-recorded videos that I have. So I'm working on some ideas to see what I can do to actually just try to do that even better myself, but that's just also one of the skills that I'm trying to work on. But these dudes are hilarious, but they also give a lot of great information when it comes to, like I said, photography. But if you're looking to do more video on this platform, they also have a lot of great advice, and I highly recommend that you check them out if you haven't done so already. DP Review, these guys used to be the camera store like hosts, because they used to work at this camera store in Canada. Then they were hired by the DP Review gang to basically continue to do the show that they do, reviewing cameras, but for their website and for their YouTube channel. But these guys, I think they're great. Like I said, if you haven't done so already, definitely check them out. Thank you very much, Paul. Paul is saying, if you want to help support MrCameraJunkie, being myself, and little MrCameraJunkie Aiden, you can do so by hitting up the Cash App. It's highly appreciated if you do. Did you end up VESA mounting the RCP2? No, because like I didn't end up looking for one. What I did was this. Let me go to my overhead. Boop. What I did is I used this, let me move the microphone. It is this notebook stand. You know, it's just like kind of like a half C. As you can see, I have my mechanical keyboard underneath, but this is just like a laptop stand that keeps it hovered to this shot. Yeah, so as you can see, it's just basically this stand here, and it's been working fine because this is the position where I wanted it right now, and it's giving me the access back to like my desk. You know, believe it or not, just being able to put this here right, and work this here without it being in the way and those cables smashing or smashing into my speaker, man, makes all the difference in the world. So just this has been okay. I still have the VESA mount, but I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, because I do have this monitor here on that same type of VESA mount, and I really like the way that it works. So I want to see if maybe I change these up to something similar, and I already have one, but all will do tell in the future time. So we'll see how that works. Paul says that he has his on a VESA mount, and that is great. I bet it is. I just haven't had the way to do it, because if I do VESA mount, let me go to it again. Let me see. If I do VESA mount, right, what I think that I end up doing is that I'm going to end up having to change my microphone mount here. And I will have to go with like the Elgato Low Pro and bring it from this area here. So it'll literally just be like clamping onto this desk here and then coming low profile underneath. So I don't know if that's exactly like what I'm going to do. What's up, Aiden? All right, well, let me see if you guys have any other questions. All right. No, I think that's it. Well, guys, another successful live stream. I can't wait to check out the audio for myself and have myself a good listen. Big UFC weekend last weekend, and there's a lot of good fights tonight, so I think I'm gonna do that before I head out. Let me know if you guys are a fan of the UFC. That's like my one thing, my one sport that I actually still follow. Big into the martial arts, and on top of that is something that happens like almost weekly and on the weekends, so it just works perfectly with my schedule. Looking forward to a lot of the big fights that are happening later on this year. But tonight, Jeremiah Hill, I believe, is fighting against Thiago Santos. So that's one that I'm looking forward to see the results. Definitely. So, okay, D saying, I just got the OC white low profile and it's nice. Paul says you are sounding crispy tonight, right? Absolutely. Krispy Kremes and crispy audio. Well, talk about that just a little bit. We've been using, some of us, right, Discord a lot. And Discord has this one feature called Crisp that they add to their audio that literally knocks everything out. And to emphasize on that tonight has been awesome. Like, one thing that none of you guys probably would notice compared to just like last week, right, is that the air conditioning has been on the entire time, and this noise reduction software is out of this world. Aiden has been making noise, just doing his thing all night. I have a fan right here off to the side, so let's see if we can see that as well. That fan right there going full blast, blasting me right on the side and hitting the microphone. But more than anything, the air conditioning's been on, the television's been on, Aiden's been going at it, and I was able to correctly get the audio to route. So with the RCP2, I am actually utilizing both of the channels. So what I'm doing is that I have the music, all of the sound effects, right? And everything that has to do with the sound effects, right? Power-ups. That's coming in through a completely separate channel. The reason why is because the crisp, like removal will remove all music, will remove all sound. So if I were just to throw the the audio of my voice with all the music mixed through one channel, you guys would not hear any of the music because Crisp will nullify it. That's why I put all of the music and all of the sound effects in through the separate channel, and that is not bringing in any of the microphones. That's just bringing in audio from the external sources and the sound effects that are put in through the Rodecaster Pro. And then when it comes to the microphones themselves, I have them going in through the main channel, which is being controlled through this Crisp like noise compressor, and this thing is incredible. Now, it's not free. It's $12 a month, or you can pay for it yearly and it brings it down to $5 a month. I just installed it today and I'm already like the biggest fan. Like I said, that's what I did to test everything out. So I even completely turned off the noise gate from my Rodecaster Pro. So like I was giving it the worst case scenario. Hey, you know what? Let's just try to dog this thing out. And it worked with flying colors. I am just so amazed at what this thing is doing. Thanks, Paul, for putting it in the chat. I highly recommend this. Tonight's live stream was a proof. I don't think I will be using anything or any of my recordings without this Crisp like being active. This thing is like I said, phenomenal. Now, if you do not want to pay for it, Crisp gives you 1 hour of recording per day for free for the free account. I just started my free account, excuse me. And what they did is just me opening the account to try it out. They gave me like the first week free. So tonight's live stream was on the free test, but I already know that I'm going to be buying this program. I'm just going to buy the year, get it out of the way, because this is going to be like the easiest no-brainer when it comes to like my software. Like instead of me going out and look, because I had mentioned it before, going out and making boxes to be sound dampening and adding all this extra stuff is like, this is the digital equivalent of like sound staging or sound like detonating my room without having to do anything. Just what I have is more than enough. This software I highly recommend. This thing is just next level. You can see the smile on my face. I'm super happy. And then the really cool part about it is that it now separates everything right through Ecamm as well, right? Because I did it this way, I'm getting the crispy audio from my sound, like from my microphone, coming in on a separate channel so that it's not being disturbed. And then the music is on a separate channel with all of the sound effects. So at the end, when I press end live stream or end my recording for tonight, as soon as I do that, what will end up happening is that it will have 2 audio sources. So just the same way, they won't mix. And if I want to repurpose anything that I have here, none of the music will actually be bleeding into my vocal side, which will give me the ability to clip this out, use it, and then maybe remove the music that was playing or change it completely. So all of those options are available because I have Ecamm coming in with 2 separate, audio sources. One being the Crisp microphone, which is controlling all of the noise removal, and then the other one being the Rodecaster Pro 2 chat. That is now not the main, but the chat that is bringing in all of the extra sounds and sound effects. And that's the way that I have it set up right now, and stupefied how good it sounds and how happy I am with what I'm seeing. I've been on the yellow the whole night of like the audio. Like I know that there's been no like, hey, can you raise it up or anything like that. It's just been smooth sailings. And well, I thank you all as always for hanging out here with me, for testing out audio and learning a little bit about tips and tricks that you can use to better create content or better be more consistent with your live streams. I hope it helps. It's helped me. It's something that I use consistently and tips that I do. Another, pro tip, make sure, things that I do as well. I brush my teeth. I make sure that I don't have like anything in my mouth, so that I don't have like a chunk of chicken that's just, pacocking the whole live stream through. So these are things that I try to look at, make sure that I don't have anything in my beard. One time I had like a little piece of like lint or cotton in the darkness, and it just stood there the whole time. I'm like, hey, what can you do, right? You live and you learn. So these are things that you do, or you can do, just to better help your production value. So guys, thanks as always for hanging out with me. You guys make it the best. You guys are awesome. Thank you as always for taking the time and hanging out with me. If you're not doing anything, we're going to be doing it next week. Just so that you know, episode number 89. Can you believe it? 89 episodes, 89 weeks. And we're marching to 204, being that should be right around in December when we start clipping the 2-year mark, man. That's gonna be amazing. I can't wait for it. I'm working on some things to just change the way that the live stream looks, the way that it flows. The structure should be the same, always trying to provide as much value as possible, but I'm gonna change like the aesthetics and the way things look. Try to see how we can differentiate and make things, a bit better, maybe even a bit easier to just create more content as well. But with that being said, guys, take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great and amazing week. I can't wait to do it all over again next Saturday, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same place, same time as always. I can't wait to see you there. Have a good one.